Welcome to another episode of Uncensored Daily Radar, where your fellow foiled friend scans the entire globe for what may or may not be artificial and nefarious activity. We go through satellite radar as well as the zippity zip zap radar, aka NEXRAD, to better understand atmospheric and environmental conditions in full context. Before we get started, there are a few things that you should know. Number one, I repeat, I am not a meteorologist, but I am a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist, which obviously makes me far more qualified to analyze atmospheric conditions. Number two, videos are fairly short, but feel free to skip ahead to any section you're most interested in. And lastly, if you'd like to see these daily radar videos, please consider becoming a paid subscriber. Otherwise, this video is about to reach a paywall, and we'll pause right now. Now. Okay. All right, let's get started. Good evening. It is June 21st, about 11:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's get started. I'm filming from a different place today. I'm in my closet because I just really felt like it was nice and cozy in here. But then I started getting really cold because the air conditioning kicked on. And so now I've got this towel wrapped around me. Anyway, let's get started with news. We had a 6.0 magnitude earthquake off the coast of Japan today, about 6 hours ago. The fire risk is increasing. It is this is considered extreme fire risk. Extreme, not severe, extreme. The red areas are considered very high. The lighter red is high, orange is moderate, yellow is low, green is very low. But California, they've had issues with fires lately. And actually this whole area, there's been fires. Evacuations ordered for part of Denali amid wildfire threats.
Well, good evening. We are used to this. Those of us who have lived out in Fairbanks for a long time, that's a quote. A wildfire northeast of Fairbanks has grown to 15 acres as crews work to contain the blaze. A new evacuations in the interior.
This is in Alaska.
In this evening.
People in the Denali borough are currently being asked to evacuate due to increased fire and wind activity from the Bear Creek wildland fire.
Current evacuation status for the June Creek subdivision and Bear Creek subdivision is at go, according to the borough.
Yeah, they've been getting trails. Interesting. This is probably the most odd thing that's happening today. Well, it's happening soon, and it's just been discussed a lot today. There will be a winter storm. It's summer, but there's going to be a winter storm this weekend. A winter storm will blanket parts of Montana, the Northern Rockies. It's not an April Fool's joke. We have snow on the forecast map. Yeah. Winter storm warnings have been posted in parts of Montana. Snow will blanket parts of the Northern Rockies and Cascades the first weekend of summer. It sounds like something of the late New York Yankees catcher. Yeah, okay, yeah. Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah. Winter storm watch over here. Winter storm warning here. Snowfall. Some areas are going to get over a foot of snow. Over a foot of snow. You know, this area has been having some interesting NEXRAD activity. So this is odd. Dane Wigginson over on Geoengineering Watch, he did a video on this winter storm. And he says it's 100% geoengineered. And he shows a bunch of things that that you're probably going to see here. But, yeah, over a foot of snow. How weird is this? June snow is not unusual for the Rockies. Yeah, even the Rockies have their newsletter, and they're saying, extremely rare snowstorm. Yeah. Why is this happening? The same pattern responsible for the blistering heat wave is helping wring out the June snow in the West. Yeah, geoengineering. The amount of heat that we're seeing out west. I mean, we talk about this all the time on this show, that these towers are now, I would say these are, today in particular, this side is really not doing much, but for over the last 4 to 6 weeks, this side was very heavily, it was emitting a lot of energy. It was very active, more active than I'm used to seeing over on the west. Also, what is this stationary looking storm here? We'll cover that in a bit. All right, and yeah, and then we had this insane wind spanning over 250 miles. It's a derecho. Deadly derecho leaves trail of damage as tornadoes, 100-mile-an-hour winds sweep across the northern plains.
And sort of exited into western Minnesota.
Some of the top wind reports coming out at over 100 miles per hour in Bemidji, North Dakota, or Minnesota rather. They reached about 106 miles per hour. And so we were just talking tropics. That's around a category 2, precipice category 3-ish hurricane. I mean, that is intense. And you've got trees in this area. You have agricultural farms and businesses. And so when you're talking about winds of over 100 miles per hour, sometimes some structures just can't hold up to that. So it is going to be interesting for the National Weather Service as they go out to survey some of the tornado damage, because they have to disseminate, was this from damaging wind or was this from a tornado? One thing that they look at is how the damage is strewn about. If it's all in one direction, if the trees, let's say, are all going from west to east and how they're laying, then that would say, okay, straight line wind. But if you have some trees cracked and kind of twisted around each other, that's when they can determine if that was a tornado or not. But they do have a lot of work ahead of them today.
Very significant amount of rain to come out of these as well. Obviously the hail damage and the wind and the tornadic.
Yeah, we covered this last night. All right, last night's show right here. I'm covering the area.
Why does that always happen to happen?
In a second,
How come it
you'll
always
see.
has to happen around the towers?
Here we go. Let's
let's
check
check
out
out
the
the area.
area.
Yeah, that's unusual. So much activity over there. Look at all that. You're just going to evaporate, aren't you? Zip, 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 zap, zip, zap, zap. Zap, zap, zap. Okay, so that's zap. That's weird. It's going in the same direction. It's not following the storm. So I wonder what we're going to see over here. Hopefully nothing. Hopefully it's like some kind of weird radar glitch that it's just kind of pointing in the same direction for a while at that high.
And I go on. I don't want to have you rewatch yesterday's show, but over here and over here, look at that radar activity. This whole area this is a lot. This is very unusual. It makes sense that there were such severe winds, because remember, the theory is that all these towers are like NEXRAD radar stations, right? Well, the theory is that they don't just do Doppler, that they can manipulate weather. And one of the ways they can manipulate weather is by, the radar itself is microwave radiation. But, there's evidence to suggest that the amount of radiation that they're emitting is actually far greater than what they tell you. So great, in fact, that it can actually microwave the atmosphere to the point of heating it up. And if you heat up a section of the atmosphere, you're creating a high pressure zone. Low pressure zones and high pressure zones repel. So you could use those high pressure zones for a bunch of different reasons. Like you could dehydrate an area, causing it to be more prone to wildfires. You can make an area not only get dehydrated like it's in a microwave oven, but you can also make sure that no storms can actually reach that area, that all the rain just kind of disappears before it even gets to the space. You can also steer storms. So if you have a high pressure zone and let's say you want to create a high pressure zone here nonstop and make the storms just go around, you can just make them emit a whole lot of radiation, and the storms will be deterred. But when you see them glowing like this, it could be that they're emitting a lot of heat, or it can be that the type of aerosol that's being laid is being picked up, similarly to how rain is picked up. It could also mean that they're trying to manipulate the storm in a different way besides heat. But because of the wind, now remember, when two temperatures collide, you make wind. So that's another thing that happens. It's a symptom. So if you want to create a high pressure zone, you heat up the area, But then when this area's air collides with this area's, you're going to have wind. So we have excessive wind throughout the United States every single day, and it's been increasing for the last year. And it's because I think that a ton of these towers are emitting more microwave radiation in certain areas, and the colliding temperatures are creating wind. Whether or not that's the goal, I don't know. I think maybe it's more of like an expected symptom of something else that they're trying to do. I don't know if wind is really their goal. I mean, maybe they're experimenting. I'm not sure, but it makes sense about the wind for sure. All right, let's take a look at today's NexRad. Obviously down here we're seeing some zippity zaps. This tower here is going nuts again. And this whole area here is looking a little funky to me. I want to see what that looks like on trails. Okay, I do see trails. There are trails mixed in here. But this, I can't see. The wind's moving very, very quickly here, so I can't quite really see if there's any trails in here. But that's moving very, very quickly. That's moving faster than I'm used to seeing. Huh. All right, let's zoom in to these sections. You want to turn off your night shift or red filter because you're going to miss a lot. That's a lot of wind, a lot of precipitation. This is and then over here, you got such a slow system. And this one isn't even moving. Okay, so there's a few odd things about this. This is moving unusually slow. This is moving unusually fast. This is moving very slow as well. This looks very hazy, very smoky looking. This looks very blurred. When I see this, usually there's trails there, but I'm not seeing any on there. I mean, this is like a full day. What? Why is this taking a full day to move? Did that tower turn off? Hold on, let me see. That tower turned off for 10 minutes. And obviously this tower is freaking out still. So it's doing something. It's been like that for over a day now that it's been doing that. It's up to something. Same with these two here, I think. Now, these clouds were behaving a certain way when that was freaking out. Let's see how does it behave after? I wonder if this has any impact on what's going on over here. Well, that turned off, and these are still kind of... Well, this starts moving more normally. This is still weird. It's like whatever that is, it's... I don't know, it might be coming from the ground. This might be generated from the ground. But there's also, mountain ranges and stuff. And, there is excessive wind. Maybe it's causing this area to get trapped. But I would say that looks funky. This area is always zip-zapping away. It never stops. It's been going 24/7 since I started doing the show. The flame-like radar, though, is not normal, but we've seen it for the last week or more. See what I mean? It looks like flames coming out from these towers here and here and here. It's better than yesterday, though. Yesterday was a lot more, and the day before that was a lot more. And this tower's still got that radial pulse sticking out from the edge. See what I mean? Here. And here there is one too, but there's a block. There's something blocking the signal from coming this way. Huh. Look at that. A perfect ripple. I saved the middle of the country for last because the middle of the country tends to have the most to talk about. We start seeing some zip-zaps over here, so I am interested to see if we do have any fires that wind up in the Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, southeastern New York area. Because yesterday there was some stuff going on there too. And yeah, look at that. There's more of a focus on the towers here too. When I say focus, I mean at night the towers get more sensitive. This is true, but the amount that they're increasing in their what looks like energy output, it changes every day. There's always a focal point for these towers. There was a short time where the entire country lit up like crazy at night. That was pretty rare. But yeah, we had some really crazy radar activity that went on for weeks in this country. Stopped probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it happened for about a month. Like, for instance, this is what I'm talking about. This was May 15th, and so much of the country was the focal point. And by the way, this isn't even the full extent of the energy output that night. Gosh. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that, and compare that to... Whoops. Yeah, so, whoops. Pause. So this is... What? Stop moving. Compared to now. But we are still seeing areas with more energy at night. Lately, it's been right here. And you guys remember, for the last couple of weeks, probably for about 7 or 8 days, we've been seeing this area as the focal point. And I was saying at the beginning, I'm like, hopefully nothing strange happens here. Hoping nothing excessive happens here. But now we've got wildfire risk, insane winds. I mean, Category 2 hurricane level winds sustaining over 250 miles, resulting in such extensive wind damage that they can hardly tell what's been hit by a tornado and what's been hit by just wind. We had that in Texas too. Okay, let's get back to the sections. So yeah, like I said, I'd be curious to know about fire risk over here, but also down here in Virginia and the Carolinas. Kind of just looking along the edge. Yeah, we've got a lot of microwave zip-zaps over here. This storm has a lot of zip-zaps, excessive zip-zaps, and lots of rippled radar. Oh, yeah, and they did that. Yeah, the radar is behaving, I would say, abnormally over here and over here. It's a bit much. Even with a storm going through, it's a bit much. So it seems like something might be up over here. They had a whole flock of birds fall out of the sky over in Alabama recently. They said they think it was maybe just due to a lightning strike. Yeah, 50 birds, though? 50 birds? I don't know. That sounds a little strange to me. All right, we'll go up here. Yep, this is abnormal for sure. These towers are also acting a little funky, too. They're lit up quite a bit. That's a lot of energy. There's also an interesting emission coming out from this tower. It's like a glowing ring. Oh, look at that. And it's going... Huh. See that glowing ring around it? And then... whole area's this whole area looks strange to me. They're doing I think if I were to put my tinfoil hat on, I'd say they're doing something here. And I would say it could cause a lot of wind. And it makes sense because they're getting a lot of wind. Lots of zip zaps all over Texas. Texas looks fantastic, though, for what we were seeing there for a couple of months. I mean, my gosh. I was about ready to tell everyone in Texas to move because it was like a non-stop zip zap attack. Texas looks weird today, though. Louisiana, this whole area with the storm, and this whole central storm area, I don't like it. California's acting funky. Now, there's nothing on radar where I'm like, oh my gosh, look at that. But it's very obvious that they're doing something. All right, let's look at trails. Trails are the fastest part of the show. For those of you who are new, thank you so much for subscribing. I very much appreciate it. You know, let's just do a quick zoom out of the United States. Let's just do it. This is, I mean, with the exception of yesterday, some of the fewest trails I've ever seen. You know, when U.S. aid got cut, there were no trails over the U.S. for like 2 days. There were some trails off the coast here, some trails off the coast here, but nothing over the United States. That is the only time that I have ever seen that. So that does say something about the whole jet fuel thing, right? Because the theory is, you know, they're putting it also just in commercial aircraft, which makes the most sense that they're also doing that. And, you know, military programs as well. But, I mean, how would you change the fuel the same day that U.S. aid got cut? You know? Like, how does that make sense? There were no trails. I should go back to my show back then. All right, we're going to come to continental U.S. in a minute. I usually cover the Atlantic. Here's Europe. We got trails out here. When I say trails, I mean contrails or chemtrails. Regardless, they are trails left by aircraft. These lines, very obviously left by aircraft. Contrails are usually pretty obvious because they are lower altitude. They're not very defined. They spread and disappear without a trace pretty quickly. The suspicious trails are high altitude, they spread, and they drop in altitude, and they collide with other trail remnants and form these clouds. Yeah, and you can tell altitude based off the color key down here. Black being the highest, purple being the lowest, pink is dust. We've got plenty of those suspicious trails in here, very defined. They're spreading out, changing the color of the area. Got trails down here. What? All right. Lots and lots of trails going over New England. It makes sense that we saw those microwave zip zaps over here, all over Canada. Well, yeah, all over here too. Okay. Let me slow this down. Why is this going so fast? Okay, so these are those smoky, misty clouds. I think these are the new chemtrails. We started seeing it for the first time around when people started reporting blue rain in Texas and California. I'm seeing it more frequently now. This stuff, it's like the planes leave it, they spread out so fast. And they form this smoky cloud. And this looks like a straight up white haze. For those of you who live in any of these areas, tell me, did you have real blue skies today? Or were they kind of blue with like this white, dusty haze? Because that's what this stuff is making. They're switching it up. Got them over here, too, over Florida. And trails mixed in here, too. Nothing over here, though, which, this is where most of the NEXRAD activity is. All that suspicious NEXRAD activity. Trails over here as well. And over here in Canada, off the coast, but we'll get a different view of that in a moment. I'm going to quickly check out Mexico. Well, it's like the hurricane completely disappeared in the last day. And South America never has anything. Well, I'm sorry, they sometimes do. They sometimes do. But usually they're contrails. I would say they do occasionally have very obvious chemtrails. But maybe I've only seen that 3 or 4 times in the last 4 months. But generally nothing. Okay. And this is the Pacific Ocean. We're at the south right now. I'm not seeing anything. Huh. There's a lot of dust out here. Not used to seeing so much dust out here. Nothing over Hawaii as usual, but I do see some trails over here. Those look more like contrails though. Yeah, they're disappearing very quickly. See how not defined these lines are, undefined, and how they just kind of disappear very quickly. These look more like these though. Plenty of trails over here. You got the smoky ones too. And lots of them up here. And then this whole thing just looks freaking strange to me. I mean, that went for a full day like that. And so all this is loaded with trails, and then this is flowing over Alaska, and they've got fire issues right now. Lots of trails in here. Just a big wall of dust. Not actual dust. Oh yeah, there's trails over here, and it looks pretty smoky. We'll look at that in a moment. You know, I had some Australians comment today saying to look at Australia, they've had a lot of trails. And I thought that was odd because they really don't get many trails. But now these are American-style trails right here. These are the suspicious kind. And these were probably over land as well. So look at that. Over here. Australia doesn't get nearly the trail activity that the United States gets, but I have seen it there maybe 8 or 9 times in the last 4 months. The United States, I see it every single day. China looks clear. China has the biggest, supposedly the biggest geoengineering program in the world. But I think a lot of their programs are done on the ground. Nothing in Russia. North Korea, once again, evading. But I think China's doing this. I don't know. Thinking that because there's trails right out here, and this stuff just, you know, comes over to the U.S. Goes down. They got the smoky stuff over here too. And this is the southern tip of Africa. I've never seen anything over Africa except for some at the very northern tip, which I think is an accident. It's stuff that they lay over in the Atlantic that's supposed to go over Europe, and some of it makes it down into the very northern portion of Africa. Yeah, we got a bunch of trails over here. Lots and lots. These are kind of hazy, dusty. We got them over here too. And over here as well. You can always count on Europe for trails. Their trails are different though. They're not as defined. They look more like contrails on the radar. I know they're not though, because we get posts from citizens on the ground taking pictures and video of their skies. And these fine trails that look like they're disappearing, these look just like the trails here in the US from the ground. So it's hard to say what's going on over here. But I will say they always have this here. Almost without exception, it's been every single day. And this stuff just floods the skies. People over here have told me that they've not seen a real blue sky in over a year. It's always this whitish blue sky. Makes sense because every single day that's what I've been seeing going over. It's just like the remnants of Atlantic clouds. All right, guys, this is a fairly decently sized show, about a half an hour. Hope you have a good night. See you.